Hello and welcome to the third instalment of RealPeel Reports, a brand new podcast giving you a roundup of the week's news events. Anyway, enough formalities. We've got a very, very exciting episode coming up today with a brand new guest here to give us a roundup of what's happened in the sport this week. And there's a very big story there. But first, I'm going to be talking to you about Story, an event that changed the world. It had the world in its grasp. It was really something that changed society as a whole, and that was the George Floyd case. You may remember 10 months ago, George Floyd, a black man, and black unarmed man, was murdered by a white American police officer. Now this was something that caused global outrage. It sparked thousands of protests, and it still has a lasting effect on society nowadays. And of late, there was a trial to find out whether Derek Chauvin, the man who murdered him, was guilty of actual murder or whether he didn't mean to. And the results, I'd like to say, and I'm glad to say, is that it came out that he did murder him. Came out on second degree murder counts even. Came out on manslaughter charges, everything. But there were some really tricky points in getting this case, and Oscar's going to tell you about them. Aren't you, Oscar?
Yes, that's right. We've got a lot of coverage in this next episode, but especially the George Floyd court case that took place. Was it 2 days ago? We were recording on Friday now, so it happened. What was on Wednesday? Did it happen? Right. So so the whole case, it took so long to get it all organised and so actually happening was because it was so high profile. And the jury, because it was so public, you had to make a jury that was all really fair and equal, and so that it wasn't really influenced in a way, although that was almost impossible. It's really sad, but it actually turns out that the jury, they didn't make a completely unanimous decision, and it was quite a short time, quite a short process that it actually took for them to make it.
Yeah, because a lot of people in time have actually felt like maybe the police and the law system is still biased towards the white people, but actually this is sort of a step in the right direction. But can you just imagine if he'd been found not guilty? Think of the uproar that would have caused again. Wow.
It would have been a whole new round of protests that I don't even know what would have happened, to be honest. It would have been so scary.
But I mean, the protests are for the right thing, to be honest. It is such completely. A shame that because of an extra amount of melanin content in people's skin, they then don't get equal opportunities at life, rights and everything, and getting jobs, things like that. So now we're going to move on to a story that has had a very big global impact. This one started off sad and didn't actually take that long for it to become happy. In fact, many people still rejoicing about its decimation, and that is the European Super League. Now, Luke's is going to tell us more about what this is and why it happened, really.
There's been 12 Europe teams that have been offered a place in this Super League. Well, I think it's more than 12, but some have rejected it. And they've only joined it for a massive amount of money. And it's caused uproar because the fans want to stay in the league, but the owners of these clubs just want the money, really. And the game's almost being overtaken by greed.
I think it was £350 million just for joining, right?
Yeah.
I think if you stayed in there for a certain amount of time, you get £3 billion. But it's to put it into context, you win the Champions League and the Premier League, the two best things, right, in world football that everyone goes raving about. If you won both of them, right, what you get would be around 200 million. And for that, you get 350 million, which is almost double what you get if you're the best team in the world at the point. Just for turning up, really.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? But they're only doing it for the money. They don't care about actually playing in that thing because it wasn't properly competitive. There was no relegation or anything. And but the fans were outraged about it because they want to see their team play competitive football in good leagues. And it'd be so much harder for fans to go to games because well, it's going to be all over Europe, so it's not like you can get like a weekly ticket to like Barcelona and Madrid. So, like...
Yeah, because that's the thing. Football was sort of built on the working man almost. Like, they were the people that started most of the clubs off and everything. And now it's being commercialised more and more and taken away from them, if you get what I mean, in a sense.
I've got a question for you, Lucas. So, which team do you support? This may cause a bit of a controversy, but which team do you support, Lucas?
I support Liverpool, even though Finn will hate that.
Boo! We love you, Everton. We do. We love you, Everton. We do. Love you, Everton. We do. Oh,
Right, Lucas, what were your thoughts when on the two? So when Liverpool joined and when they left again, what were your emotions at that point?
Yeah, well, I was very depressed about us joining, really, because I want to see us play in the Premier League.
You turned into a Leeds fan, didn't you?
Yeah, I was considering supporting Leeds.
You turned into a Leeds fan for the couple of days.
But even though they've left, I'm still angry, upset that our owners would have chosen to join that league over playing in our league just for the money. It's annoying that we were going to stay in that.
Yes, that's...
I think the fact that Chelsea and some other teams backed out sort of forced us out of it almost.
It's been such a weird time for football, because we've almost seen it so that the beautiful game has been taken away from us. It was so close to being taken away from us. Because the main problem with the Super League is, yes, the money is really bad and everything, but one of the main problems many fans have with it is the fact that it removes the honesty, the integrity out of competition. It removes the fact that Leicester could go and win the league. It removes, think about it. In the years my dad's been around, Chelsea, Man City, I think it's Spurs, and I think Arsenal as well. In fact, no, I don't think it is Arsenal. But the rest of all the Premier League teams as well have all been in the second division or the Championship, right? I think if this league was brought in then, they would be nowhere. So it's such a terrible idea. You can tell it's been made by Americans though, because it's sort of a similar principle to the MLS, where you join, and then you can't really get relegated, and that ruins the fun out of football. You wouldn't get your Leicester season, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. You
wouldn't get games where Leeds United can go and beat Liverpool, or Sheffield United can draw at Man United. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a rumour that they weren't just going to be played at the club's home grounds. They were going to be played all around the world, in different countries, in China and Azerbaijan and places like that, just because of more money. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think Sky and BT also rejected to show it on TV, didn't they? So
What? Yeah. In fact, did they reject it? I'm not sure whether they rejected it or whether they just said, we're not commenting on this. Because I think if anyone had said anything at that point, it would have just been angry.
Yeah, because Gary Neville was on Sky almost every night, just completely hating on
Ranting.
it. He called it disgraceful and everything. So yeah.
I mean, he's not wrong. Really? He wasn't wrong. Oh, wow. He wasn't wrong in there. But something a lot of people have actually pointed out is him and his mates went and bought Salford Town and got them into League One just by spending money over what other clubs in their divisions paid. But then I suppose it does ruin the game, if you know what I mean, the idea of it. Although I've seen quite a lot of people sort of bring up that maybe the game still isn't what it used to be, if you get what I mean. Even without the Super League, the game's still been going a downward path. Because you've got clubs like Chelsea and your Arsenals and your Spurs and your Man Cities and your Liverpools that nowadays have so much money, so good a squads that they can't really get relegated.
Yeah, also VAR has sort of ruined the game.
It's ruined the fun of
your team scores a goal, you celebrate in 1 minute, and then oh wait, no, the toe was offside the next minute. So it's
I
having goals
VAR.
disallowed for barely anything, and it's ruining the game because I'm celebrating a goal and then the next minute it's been disallowed. It's just annoying.
Hey, there is one goal that I'm happy that was disallowed.
Liverpool,
that was that
Everton.
Winner from Sadio Mane in the derby. Let's go! Sorry. And then, can you just remind me what happened in the other derby? What happened in the one at Anfield?
I actually can't remember the score, but I remember
Everton won.
beating us.
Yes, let's go. Sorry. I mean, Liverpool normally win every year, so for Everton to win it, I get to be really overjoyed, really. Liverpool have had a shock of a season, though.
Yeah, it's been one of Liverpool's poor seasons.
Yeah.
But,
to be honest, one of the worst things about that whole ESL thing, though, is even though the owners have pulled out, it sort of showed what they care about. They don't care about football. Like, they don't care about anything. They don't care about the fans. They don't care about the people that built the game. All they care about is cash.
yeah.
And I think Gary Neville said this. He said it's kind of ironic that at Old Trafford, right, at the Stretford End, I think it is, there's a massive quote saying, "Football is nothing without the fans," from Sir Matt Busby, right? When what Gary Neville said is, what the owners wish it was, is football is nothing without Chinese streaming services. And they're not wrong.
Yeah.
Thanks for that coverage on that, Lucas.
Cheers a bunch.
Now we're going to move on to a brand new segment of the show. This is called Between the Headlines, and the idea is what we do: take a deep dive into the headlines, but we find what isn't being told in them. What's like the sneaky story that they're hiding. I found a really interesting one for this week, and this is about the government, because as you'll know, there was Brexit, obviously, where we left the EU, and that's had some implications. So what's happened as a result of it is exports, which are basically like the amount of items we transport, like kind of like items, are down by 46% to the EU. Like, so we've lost 46% of our exports to the EU, and that leads it down to 54%. And the EU is the biggest, is like the place we export most of our stuff to. So that is costing UK businesses so much money. But what was all over the news was that in the month after January, which was when we left the EU, it bounced back up by 42%. Now you will be thinking at home, 54% add 42% is 96%, right?
Right.
No, it's not. It's actually 42% of 54%. So it's actually around 76%. So it's still near enough 25% worse off than we were with before Brexit, which is still absolutely terrible, especially when you consider how much of a financial impact COVID's had, and to throw Brexit in the mix, which is removing a lot of their trade. Really not looking good for UK businesses. But now, Oscar's going to bring you a story about some of the entertainment headlines, aren't you?
Yes, I am. There's actually not been that much this week, which is a bit upsetting, but there's been a couple. So, Prince Harry, not Prince Harry, what we're talking about. So, in terms of royal family stuff, Prince Louis, so it was his birthday, I think yesterday, and there was a lovely picture of him on his bike, which is very nice. It's quite cute. In terms of, who would have guessed, BBC was hit with complaints over Prince Philip's funeral, so obviously that's something to talk about. I mean, it's been quite empty, relatively empty. A lot of people have died over the last couple of months. It's really sad. A lot of celebrities.
It has actually, I've sort of noticed like a lot have gone.
I think that's all. I think that's all I got for the for this. And well, technology. Let's talk. Okay, so technology now. Hang on, sorry, my thing is very slow. So basically, Discord was having some. You just
loading up the notes you got.
So Discord has been having some, let's say, like some kind of chats with Microsoft about buying it, and it's now been confirmed. Discord have now ended all acquisition talks with Microsoft. They've decided to remain independent. So, thoughts on this? Well, I don't know.
No.
I feel like Discord, it could have integrated nicely with Windows.
So, Oscar, what is acquisition for people that don't know?
So, acquisition is just like one party buying something from another party, basically. So, So, it was a $10 billion offer, I believe. But I think they said it could be rekindled in the future. So, thoughts on that? It could come back, which they can integrate it nicely. I don't have that
would have been really cool.
Yeah, it'd be really cool. I don't have an Apple laptop myself, so I don't think it would entirely matter. But the thing is, I'd hate it if they had plans on making it like exclusive for Windows. Well, I don't think they'll do that, but just in case.
Yeah.
So I'm
not sure what would have I was just gonna say I'm not sure what Discord would have really added, because it's similar to Microsoft Teams, if you know what I mean. It's slightly different.
I see what you mean.
I feel like Microsoft have actually got a lot of products like it. But I'm kind of glad Discord have gone alone. It's quite cool, really.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just reading my notes here. Okay, brilliant. So that's for the tech news. Anything else? I can't think of anything else. That's
Yeah. Well, that was a really nice story, actually, hearing about how a company maybe hasn't got sucked into it where it's been bought out by a bigger one, and kind of where it's sort of retained its independence.
Oh
It's nice to hear.
I just realised. There's a massive tech thing that's just gone on. I'm so sorry. I just completely forgot about a massive tech thing that's gone on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it doesn't matter. Let's go.
So, basically, the other story that I've got in terms of tech is that there was the Apple keynote event where they released some crazy stuff, and we're going to be focusing on one product. I want to talk about one product, which is quite interesting to talk about. So they basically, if you don't know, keynotes, and it's called the WCC, I think, something like that.
I think it is, yeah.
And this event was called Spring Loaded. So basically, the whole point of it is that Apple, so they released this new thing, this new little gadget called Apple AirTags. Now, basically, pardon me, if you ever have tiles, if you've ever got some tiles, like the tracker things.
Oh yeah.
It's like that, but it integrates so much better. It's like, so the idea is you put it connects with your iPhone, and it connects with the Find Your iPhone app. It's insane. So basically, Apple announced it. It was I think it was quite long waited. I think it was kind of being rumoured and being kind of talked about so much, and eventually they finally released it. So new iMacs and new iPads were the start of the day. They're like the main focus of the lineup. They got a whole new colourful iMacs, which is pretty cool. But then they said, keep losing your keys down the sofa. Well, not anymore. That was like their AirTags message, because they said, so basically these tech little pieces, they cost about 29 quid like for one of them, and then 100 quid for four of them, which is quite, it's quite expensive.
Yeah.
I think about 35 is about
so
a cheap.
Can you put them on items?
Is about a cheap version of a tile.
So put them on items, and basically you can go on your phone and basically track where they are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so
That would be so useful, because I am like the most person that loses everything, right?
they take roughly the same idea. Yeah.
I lose everything. That would be so sick.
Exactly. So
nah, to be honest, I'm not an Apple person. I don't have anything Apple. But if I did, if Samsung decided to come out with something like that, I'd do that. And now me and Oscar are going to bring you the final story of the week. And this is quite a controversial one. This has really been something that a lot of people have found quite disturbing almost. And it's a lobbying scandal. And if, like me, a few days ago, you don't know what lobbying is, that's alright, because we're here to explain it. Lobbying is basically where someone who doesn't work in, a position of power, I don't know, Boris Johnson being government, someone who doesn't work in a position of power, like one of his mates, what they do is they use the fact that they know someone in a position of power to basically get themselves stuff, if you know what I mean. So what's happened is there's been two scandals come out recently. One of them was with the former Prime Minister David Cameron, and what happened with him was he went and worked for a company called Greensill Capital, and you may have heard them in the news recently. They went bankrupt, which means they can't fund Liberty Steel, who are in a bit of trouble. But that's a story for another day. But with David Cameron, what happened was he was messaging Richie Sunak directly to try and get him to sort of get them some deals that other businesses of the same type wouldn't get. And Richie Sunak really tried his hardest to get David Cameron that, but he didn't manage to do it. But the main problem with this is, A, it's kind of morally wrong, and B, you have to declare something like that, and Richie Sunak didn't, which is sort of illegal, which really breaks what a politician is actually meant to do. And this caused a lot of outcry from Labour. So then Boris Johnson launched an investigation into it, but it was with some people that were sort of connected to the Tories. So Labour said, oh hey, that might not be that fair, to be honest, we want someone neutral to do it. So then they tried to pass that through the House of Parliament, but the House of Parliament said no. But then, of late, something really interesting has come out about the whole story. And it's not involving one of Boris Johnson's sidemen, it's involving him himself. With a man called James Dyson, he's Britain's richest man. And what happened was, a couple of years back, I think it was, he moved over to Singapore because the taxes there are way cheaper. Because he didn't want to have to pay any taxes, because taxes help people. But what's happened is, in the middle of the pandemic, they were trying to build ventilators, right? And James Dyson wanted to get an offer for it, and said he could do it, which is fine. That's just a good thing to do. But what happened was he was messaging Boris Johnson directly to get him not to have to pay the tax to get his staff over. Despite at the time, even because of COVID, like for making COVID stuff, people still had to pay tax to get different members of staff into the UK, stuff like that. So what's happened, right? And like to get different materials into the UK. And what's happened is it's caused sort of an outcry that a lot of people have just thought, oh my god, how come he can just dodge all these taxes and everything when he literally left the UK to not have to pay tax? And then one of the most ironic things that's come out of this, right, is a government minister came out and he was like, oh yeah, well, it's not that bad because it benefited no one whatsoever. But many people have just been like, what? James Dyson now got a contract worth billions of pounds and he didn't have to pay any tax on making the goods and everything and getting things in, which everyone else would, which just gave him even more profit. But anyway, that's the final story of the week. So yeah. And that's all we got time for on today's show.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, it's been really good to be joined by Lucas Watling. And I mean, me and him have got something in the works, but we're not going to say anything more than that.
Exactly.
But it's been such a great podcast. Really enjoyed it. Make sure you follow on all the platforms. We'll be having another one come out next Saturday around in the morning time. And make sure you stay tuned for that. Right, see ya. Cue the outro music.